Everyone always wants to sell the sexiest, newest AI automation. However, the reality is most of the money to be made in this industry as an agency is actually in selling the boring tasks. That's where the big money is, because just like you don't want to sell it, they don't want to do it. So in this video, we're going to be covering 5 really dull AI automations that can pay $1.5 grand a month very easily. So here's a question for you. What if the most boring businesses were actually the biggest gold mines? And what if the most boring tasks in those businesses were your biggest opportunity to optimize with AI? That's the question. The reality is, that's true. Because most entrepreneurs simply ignore these unsexy processes. They are out looking for sexy SaaS companies and sexy, dental clinics to work with that they don't want to sell these boring things. And by the end of this video, you're going to know which 5 AI automations are printing right now. And the secret is, it's not about being cutting edge. You don't need to get people to a 10 out of 10 with an automation. If someone's starting at a 0, you can make the most money the easiest by going them from a 0 to a 5, and way more money than taking them from a 5 to a 10. Now, the reason most AI service providers stay broke is they just chase new trends. They compete in oversaturated markets. They compete in oversaturated things like chatbots, which in reality is you sell for $50 a month from a SaaS product. They underprice and they miss the boring stuff. So let's jump ahead. So the first is the drudgy data killer. These are tasks no business likes to do. So what I would do here is I would actually build these into one automation package. So something like invoice processing and automation. This saves an accounts receivable and accounts payable team a lot of money by actually getting those invoices processed properly. $500 to $800 per client per month. Receipt categorization, same deal. Contract data extraction. All these things that people have always traditionally hired a VA to handle are really great. You combine 3 of these and you're at $1,500 to $1,000 a month. You can actually charge more depending on the type of firm. For example, if you're doing receipt categorization and what all people need to do is take a photo of receipt and actually handles everything else, you can charge more than that price we've got listed there. Now, quote of the day: opportunity is missed by most people because opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. That is, most people will miss an opportunity because they've actually got to do some work. What a concept. Do the work, get the results. Now, inbox intelligence. There's a huge goldmine here. Why? Because no one likes their emails. Emails are unproductive and they don't really yield an ROI for most business owners. So running an AI that will filter and prioritize emails essentially eliminates the need for a virtual assistant. Having an AI that will filter customer service emails, that's a huge opportunity here. You can actually build a knowledge base and handle most customer service emails very simply. Lead qualification from forms. To be honest, we charge a lot. We charge a lot more than $400 to $700 a month for this. On average. Sometimes it's a small $1,500 build, 400 retainer. That's for a small client. That's, you're dealing with a 1-person shop. If you're dealing with a proper business with at least 15 employees, you'll be charging $1,500 a month for qualification. Same as appointment settings. The back-end business brain. These automations are boring. This is the one thing that unless you've got experiencing, I'd recommend probably staying on the other automations, because things like stock level ordering and stock level monitoring and reordering, supplier performance tracking, these sorts of analytics driven AIs are a little harder to build just using a standard workflow. However, if you do know this industry, which some people watching this video will know this industry, it's a beautiful way to make money. Once the systems are in, they'll run the same system for 10 years. Now, the way you get started is by quit talking and begin doing. Walt Disney. So keep that in mind. So the numbers that nobody wants to play. Bank account reconciliation. Again, huge opportunities there. Expense categorization. What you're starting to see here is there's a lot of money to be made with accounting driven AIs. There's a lot of money to be made with basic lead follow-up, as well as removing a boring email admin. Next, regulations. So anything regulatory. You want to be creating a very strong paper trail, which means you want to essentially be running, let's say an agent that then stores into a vector database, which then gets backed up to a Google Sheet, all documents related to, let's say, each client. For example, marketing agencies actually have a liability that most don't know, and it's called a chargeback. So if you actually create an AI that will take every email that they send, every work process they do, every time they log in, Jira or Monday.com or wherever they're doing the tasks, and spin all of that into one vector database. So each client has their own table. So if they ever have a chargeback, literally all they need to do is pull that table out, that one sheet from the table, and send it to their payment processor, and they will have hundreds of lines of proof that they've been doing their work, which will win them the chargeback. So a system like that is essentially a safety net system. And for an agency doing $100,000 a month, $1,500, pretty easily. And same with audit trail generation, all the compliance driven stuff. Now, boring businesses. How do you make $1 million from these boring businesses? Let's say an accounting firm. Again, boring. But if you can save them 40 hours a month, you can easily charge $1,800. Now, the question you've got to ask is which of the automations that we discussed previously would save each firm that money? And that's why you got to do a diagnosis and a discovery when you're in the sales process to find out where that particular firm needs their time saving. Manufacturing companies, again, this is one you've got to have industry-specific insights and knowledge of, but it's very easy to charge $2,500 for inventory and compliance automation. Law firms are a goldmine if you can get into one or two. It's a very tight-knit industry. You need to get a case study. So if you know a lawyer, if you've ever used a lawyer, if you can do pro bono work for a lawyer to get your first case study, you can start charging $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month in that space. One of the wealthiest agency owners I've ever met, he exclusively dealt with law firms because he got some examples, got some case studies, and then went to town on it. So overall, it's very easy to pull $11,000, $12,000 a month from 5 clients. So if you run the math on how to get to $1 million, simple. You just need 40 clients. And the thing is, if you space it out and you take on no more than, let's say, 4 builds a month, you can get to $1 million a year business within a year. Now, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. In other words, if you are still sitting on the sideline, you're not sure what to sell in your AI automation business, just get started. So from here, if you have never taken action on your business, next 2 weeks, I would spend time researching and validating. That is, I would identify 10 clients in target industries. I would then audit their current manual processes. For that, you will need to talk to them. You'll need to offer them something of value in order for them to show you their manual processes. You could go in and say, hey, I want to build and I want to automate your processes for free. I want to use you as a case study. I'm starting my business. Can I do this for you for free? You contact 10, one will say yes, because it takes their time. And then you want to calculate it all. Second, you want to be building it. So you want to go out there, you want to actually build it. You want to deliver it. Once you've built it and delivered it to that client, you can then start reaching out to other people saying, I've built this solution. Now, immediately you won't have a case study. However, you will be able to show them the exact solution you've built, and you can start customizing and tweaking it for them. And ultimately, I didn't put the slide in here, but by about week 8, you'll have a case study from the first client you built on. That case study will help close way more deals. So essentially the biggest killer you can have if you're trying to sell these sort of automations is pricing on time, building complex solutions, not establishing a clear success metric, and ultimately failing to create ongoing maintenance contracts, because it's great to sell something once, but you want to get that retainer in action. So as boring as these automations are, these sort of automations and this video's goal was to give you some insight as to the different types of automations that are possible and the different types of industries you can serve within your AI agency. All you need to make $1 million a year is one very good offer, one very good industry. And usually it's going to be an offer in an industry not everyone is selling. If everyone is selling cold email systems to marketing agencies, they are going to ignore the messages. If you come in and say, I'm going to build you a bulletproof system that will protect you from any chargebacks, and you deliver that instead, that is a solution they probably have never been pitched. And that's where you're going to stand out. So with that said, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I look forward to helping you grow your agency. And if you've got any video ideas, drop them below. Always happy to help. As you know, my name is Joel House. I've built a $150,000 a month agency, and I'm here